all these characteristics. And I've also noted down some marquee angel investors in Indian ecosystem. If you look at the common characteristics, all of them are associated with some or other startups. They are all experienced entrepreneurs. Of course, they made their wealth with their startups, and they were early adopters of tech, at least in India. So what is role of an angel investor? Angel investor brings in the expertise and not just the capital. A lot of network. To give you an instance, we have a client who is running a gaming platform. This guy wanted to. There is a recent disruption. If you have read about this, the GST Council has increased gaming tax to 28%, which has a huge impact on the entire gaming sector. So this guy wanted to move away from India and start his entity in US because of the connection his investor had. Now they are already into global market. They are yet to launch, but they are already into global market because they had enough and more connections in global market through the angels they brought in early stage. Of course, long-term vision. Why do we choose high net worth individuals to be our angel investors? The reason for choosing a high net worth individual to be our angel investor is because it's a startup. You run a lot of experiments and you may not really succeed, and you may need more follow-up capitals. In case if you are diluted, whenever you issue capital to an angel investor, you tend to dilute your capital. You are not the sole shareholder in the company, right? So if you have already diluted a high value, getting in more investor at a lower valuation could risk your entire business idea or a startup. So it is very important to have individuals who will support you in long run and not just provide you capital for initial idea. So it's always important to go to people who can continuously support you throughout the journey. And startup can take, let's say, 1 year to 5 years anywhere to actually hit the PMF that they are looking for. You might have heard of Byju's. How many of you are aware of Byju's? And do you know when did Byju's started their business? How long back? Yeah, it's almost been 15 years since they started their business, but they never got enough traction before 2015. 2015 is when they were first recognized, and we all saw what happened in 2020 and what is happening right now. But the point here is that when you have an idea and you believe in that idea, this idea can take not just 1 year, it can take several years, and you need people who will support you throughout your life cycle. You should also look for people who have good track record of investing. Because they can help you in your PMF. If you go to an experienced angel investor and you pitch your idea, you would get to know very early whether this idea would work or not. Of course, that is not a conclusion of your idea, but it gives you enough and more insight. I'll give you an instance. I had a chat with a couple of aspiring people trying to start their own entity 2 days back, and they wanted, and this goes by the name of Credit Yodha. So they wanted to start an entity which is into credit card distribution. They came to us to seek advice on whether they should do this business or not. But if you are aware, there are, do you know any platform that helps in distribution of credit cards, etc., apart from banks? I think all of you must have used it, or at least you would get spam calls. Anyone can name the platform? It's also got listed recently. Bajaj is a NBFC or bank kind of setup. So, but I know Bajaj gives a lot of spam calls. So, okay, Paisa Bazaar is the entity. They help in distribution of credit cards, loans, etc. So when there is already a player who's doing business in the same market, it is highly unlikely that you may, if you don't have good product differentiation, you may not get the funding that you need, or you may not be able to compete with them. I think all of you must be watching Shark Tank. You know the boat founder, right? In one of the episode, he mentions that we don't let any musical company, I mean, of course, not JBL kind of company, but new companies that come into market to compete them, they compete them with pricing strategy, etc. So if there is a well-funded player in a particular market and you don't have a product differentiation, then it is highly unlikely that A, you will get funding, B, you can stand against these funded entities, because they are not just funded for, let's say, few lakhs. They are funded for multiple $1 million. So it is very important that you find a credible person who can give you right advice at the beginning of your startup, so that you can find your path and make necessary changes while you have not deployed a lot of capital. Of course, they give you a lot of access, and you also have to check their access and involvement in a startup. If you have an angel who cannot spend time with you to sit across table and discuss your idea, then these are the kind of angels you should not go to, ideally, unless you are very desperate for the capital and you feel that you can crack it on yourself. Okay, fine. Anyone who has ever seeked for angel investment here, or anyone who already has a business, own business, not. Okay, let me change the question. Have anyone ever worked with a startup as an intern, or I think all of you must really do a internship with a startup to see how they hustle day in, day out. Cool. Let's see what are the before going seeking an angel investment, or things that you need to take care of before going for an angel investment. Can I need someone to answer? What are the basic criteria you would look to accomplish before you go for an angel investment? I think we have discussed enough, but I'll pick someone from the last row. Do you wanna? It's okay, feel free. हाँ तुझे ही बोल रहा हूँ. Take a stab at it. Don't worry. You don't read from that. Just let me know what your ideas are. Do you want to pass it on to your friend? Yeah, sure. What are the basic criteria you would look to meet while seeking an angel investment? अगर आपने स्टार्टअप कर लिया है और आपको एंजल इन्वेस्टमेंट चाहिए, तो आप कौन से स्टेज पे जाके मांगोगे? आपको कल रात को आइडिया आया और आज एंजल इन्वेस्टर के पास चले जाओगे, तो आप कब जाओगे? Yeah, speak up loudly a little. Okay, correct. मार्केट अप डाउन मतलब आप स्टॉक मार्केट की बात कर रहे हो? Anyone else want to? But yeah, analyzing market is important. Correct. That's a perfect answer. We have to see feasibility of the idea, how feasible the idea is. But what are the things that you will check whether the idea is feasible or not? Of whom? No, that's a very good answer. Does someone want to add more context to what he has said from this side? आप हिंदी में बोल दीजिए ना, मुझे गुजराती नहीं आती है. Oh, sorry.
सर हमारे पास खुद अगर प्रोडक्ट हम स्टार्टअप कर रहे हैं तो हम अगर हमने इनोवेशन स्टेज पे है, अगर हम रिसर्च करें तो हम वो भी रिसर्च करें कि हमारा कॉम्पिटिटर्स कौन है. अगर कुछ भी अपने इनोवेशन किया जैसे इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स तो हम उसके अगर अपना प्रोडक्ट का दूसरा कोई कॉम्पिटिटर देखेंगे तो उसके पास कैपेसिटीज क्या है, उसके इन्वेस्टर्स की कितनी बड़ी उसका मार्केट कैप है, उनके साथ कितना सपोर्ट है. क्योंकि उस हिसाब से अपने भी अपना प्रोडक्ट डेवलप करेंगे कि अपने पास लेस कॉम्पिटिटर्स हो तो अपना मार्केट में प्रोडक्ट अच्छा चलेगा और हम वो देखेंगे कि हमको कोई अच्छा इन्वेस्टर मिले, एंजल इन्वेस्टमेंट, तो उसकी मार्केटिंग भी अच्छी हो और उसके पास नेटवर्क भी बहुत अच्छा हो कि वो हमको आगे लेके जा सके.
That's a very good answer. So right, uh, once we get an idea, it is very important to evaluate our own ideas through few basic checks. You have to ask yourself whether this idea is scalable. If the idea is not scalable, then I'm sorry, you're not into a startup business. You are definitely, you may be on your own path of starting a new business, but unless it is scalable, it is not a startup. And I think then angel investment does not make a lot of sense. There are other schemes of government, there is credit available, or you can start with a small capital. But the most important criteria for a startup is to have a scalable model. And can anyone tell me what is the most important lever of scalability? I've spoken about it a few minutes back, but what is the most important lever for the scalability? So you are, sorry? Yes, economic feasibility. I think it's definitely an important aspect of it, but I think this is not an absolute lever for scalability. When we talk about scalability, we would ideally mean, let's say, if I am reaching to 5 people in my community, how would I reach people in next 1 month? So how do you assess the scalability of an idea? Okay. So all of this definition is fall into how the market is. Scalability on the basis of how quickly you distribute the product and lever for scalability. For example, you must have seen a lot of D2C brand. Who knows a little more into what is a D2C brand and how does it change from what the definition of D2C is direct. Yeah. So how is a D2C brand different from a brand that you
Provide the product direct to the customer.
let's say if I sell on Amazon, these are natively digital, their brand digitally first and then go off. Of course, to there are other aspects why they go offline, such as once a lot of people want touch and feel of the product. Mama Earth is a brand that started digitally, viral. I mean, all of us know Mama Earth very well. It started digitally first, and that digital channel can be a very low hanging technology, such as digital distribution platform. Website to distribute is a very low hanging technology. It is not necessarily a platform, but it is just a small digital web 2 sort of interface that helps you in scalability. So technology is the most important lever. The technology can go multiple folds up. For example, Freshwork is an altogether different game of technology against what you see in D2C. Second is market potential. We all spoke about how much there is a demand for product, how feasible it is, how it is different from your competitor, etc. Unique proposition is differentiation from competition uh, in any market, particularly in Indian market, which does not have a lot of depth. Uh, so in any market, this has been the trend that particularly I'm speaking about Indian market, that not more than one or two large entity can survive in Indian market, especially when it comes to new age businesses. You would have seen a huge consolidation into food tech industry. Uh, Anyone can name two food tech companies which were into business before, or let's say parallel to Swiggy and Zomato, and not are not existing right now. Yeah, Uber Eats is one. Food Panda, yeah. So all of these entities had to shut the shows because A, they were running on borrowed capital. B, the market depth was not enough. And we all must know that Zomato is also struggling till date to find profitability, etc. So there was, how many of you have read a DRHP of Zomato? Do you know what is DRHP? So yeah, this is a draft red herring prospectus that a company that is aiming to list has to give all the information, what is the market size, and I think this is a bible that anyone should read before investing into company, to understand what is the total potential, what is the what who are their competition, what are the risks associated with it. Zomato, their HP, they have mentioned that they cannot attain profitability unless their average order value, and you all must know that 300, how far Zomato is still from reaching profitability. So in that scenario, in a market which does not have enough depth, it is very important to see that there are no large competition. I know someone who wanted to start business in contract manufacturing, and they had to quit the idea after building the technology because there are players like Zworks, Off Business, etc., which are already into that particular field. So when there are very large entities already and you don't have a value proposition which is very different from them, then it is that you either relook at the idea or go into the market, find what is missing in the market rather than thinking on your desk. You have to speak to a lot of people in the market and get a reality check for your idea. So yeah, and then lastly, before you go to angel, you should have an exit plan for an angel. So if someone is trusting you with their capital, how would you return their capital? So what do you mean by exit strategy?
There are multiple ways. Either you give up some of your equity as a founder, or you borrow from some other source and pay off the earlier source.
Yeah,
That
so
is what companies usually do.
yeah,
I mean,
I
all these
mean,
companies coming out with IPOs are basically paying off their original investors.
yes, that's right. So an exit strategy would mean that you return the capital plus the returns that they have made to the investor. And how do you plan exit? So there are multiple ways. Typically, borrowing is not the way people would prefer, because if you had the access to credit, you would not borrow, you would not get capital from someone else. Risk class asset. So people would not prefer paying equity with borrowings. If someone is investing into equity, he knows that it can be zero any day. So what are the other ways of exit? One is, like ma'am pointed out, IPO is definitely a way for exit, but IPO is always 7 years or 9 years down the line of a company's life cycle, and your angels might not have patience to wait for so long. So the other way about exit is a secondary sale of shares. So let's say I've raised capital today from an angel. I'm not going to discuss about what valuation, what percent, etc. But let's say I've raised 1 crore from an angel today, and 2 years I have experimented with that capital. I have found my product market fit, and now I'm going to the next stage investor. That is a seed stage investor, seed stage investor or a Series A investor, depending on where the business is in its cycle. Go to an investor and ask him that, can you invest in my company and at the same time buy some of my existing angel shares? that is called secondary sale of share. So a lot of people also depend on secondary sale for providing an exit to their existing investors. And of course, it can happen anywhere between Series A to Series C. You would have heard that Baiju's co-founder exited his stock with a $450 million sales. He was an early investor as well as a co-founder. So that kind of exit is very important. When you go to an angel, if you give them a commitment that I will find an exit for you, that shows your willingness to grow the business as well as documents that you will take to an angel. Come on, guys, this is the most basic thing. Can you answer something? Yeah. Financial statement, a new entity might not have a financial statement at all. हाँ ठीक है. If you are doing business, let's say for 1 year, 1.5 years by yourself, then you can definitely take your past performance, etc. What else would you take? Correct. That is why you definitely have to take what are your projections for future, and these projections cannot be random. I cannot say I'll make 1 crore sale today, 2 crore in the next month, 3 crores in the following months. You have to identify what are the levers that would drive the sale. For example, if I have 20 customers now and I'm speaking to 40 more customers and expecting this to be converted into, let's say, out of 40 customers that I speak to, I know at least I'll be able to convert 10 of these customers. Then I can make a projection that, okay, next month my sales will go up. So these kind of projections, at least for first 6 months, and then the following projection can be on multiple assumptions. So you will have to take a financial model to them. Also, how would you pitch your idea? It's always preferable. I mean, you can pitch just orally. I could have given this lecture very orally rather than using a deck, but deck acts as an anchor. You can present your idea on a deck and then talk through your idea that, look, this is my idea. There are features that you have to cover in your presentation when you go to any investor, that you talk about the problem statement, you talk about what is the solution, you talk about what is the size of the market, and most importantly, you talk about who are the founders, including yourself. What is your expertise in that to attain the goals that you are saying? Because any any early stage betting is not really on the company, or it is not on the business idea. It is in turn on the founder. The confidence of the founder is the confidence of an angel or any investor for that matter. So yes, you should definitely take a pitch deck to them, financial model, and if you have a product ready, or let's say you don't have a product ready but you have a demonstration for it, how the product will work, then you show them the product that it is. It can be a tech product, it can be just a physical product out there that you can take to them. Also give them brief overview of who are the other people existing in market and how you are different from them, and then ensure that your legal structure is a company, because you cannot hold share in a firm. You can become a partner, but you cannot hold share in firm. And since the large goal is to raise more capital and grow in future, you should ensure that your legal structure is taken care of before you actually go to an angel. So cool. We have spoken enough about angel, but I also want to briefly touch upon other facilities that are there. We see a lot of incubation centers, accelerators, like the one we have here also. What are the role of an incubation center and an accelerator? Can someone at least answer on that?
वो अपनी एक्सपर्टीज प्रोवाइड करते हैं, मतलब और मतलब इन्वेस्टर है और लेंडर है, उनको कनेक्ट करते हैं।
लेंडर क्यों?
तो इन्वेस्ट करना चाहता है बिजनेस में,
वो तो इन्वेस्टर हो गया ना।
किसी को मतलब पैसे चाहिए तो मतलब उनको कनेक्ट करते हैं और R&D में भी हेल्प करते हैं।
Correct. So incubation center and accelerators. Incubation center provides you facility It also helps you to find right mentors. It also helps you to do the R&D necessary for your product. And at the same time, accelerator's role is to help you in reaching out customer quickly. And as the name suggests, it helps you to speeden up the process entirely. So in early stage, when you have an idea, you don't have to expense out a lot of capital, and you can just join this networks and take benefit of the facilities that they already have. They may also give you a modest capital to work on your idea. Anyone know which is the largest? It is mentioned here, but which is the largest accelerator in the world? It has given several large businesses.
Then there.
Come on, guys, it's just there. I'll tell the line also. So it's second line, second para. Right. Y Combinator is one of the most famous accelerator, and if you ever get capital from Y Combinator, it is most likely that you can get capital in the next rounds because it brings a lot of validity to what you are doing. And of course, when you are part of a accelerator, you get a lot of connections also. You get to see a lot of other business people. You may actually find your co-founders in such accelerators. So cool. I think we have discussed more and enough about what is an angel investment, etc. Let's move to the next stage of investment. When you have received the capital from an angel and your idea is working and you have got some sort of traction to prove that your idea is going to work in larger market, you go to a venture capital. And I'll just point out someone and they have to answer what is a venture capital. Do you want to? Yeah, person behind you. Yeah.
वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट मतलब वो जो एक फर्म होती है कि जो किसी की एग्जिस्टिंग बिजनेस होता है उसमें इन्वेस्ट करती है उसका पोटेंशियल।
ओके और ये कौन से टाइप की मतलब इन फर्म्स को चलाता कौन है? It's okay if you guess. I'm not expecting the precise answer from you. So no, these firms are operated by seasoned investors who also have deep domain experience. For example, we spoke about an angel, Arjun Vaidya, who is on the extreme end of the screen. He is founder of Dr. Vaidya. He sold his company and started his own venture capital fund. And now he funds the company as well as help them to grow. So these venture capital firms are either operated by experienced entrepreneurs who have already have a large businesses and they can fund their own ventures, and at the same time these are seasoned investors who know how to assess a particular opportunity that has come to them and then invest in it. So what are the features of an angel or sorry a venture capital? At what stage do they come in? Loudly. Research. थोड़ा loudly. थोड़ा और loudly.
रिसर्च के स्टेज पे अगर कोई पर्सन रिसर्च कर रहा है प्रोडक्ट के लिए तो उसको मार्केट पे रिसर्च करना उस टाइम और उसके बाद जो उसको कैपिटल चाहिए ना जैसे प्रोडक्शन के लिए वो सीरीज है कि सीड है कैपिटल अपने उसके थ्रू बोलते हैं एक आएगा प्रोडक्शन के लिए फिर उसके बाद ग्रोथ के लिए आएगा फिर मार्केट के प्रमोशन के लिए सीरीज ए बी सी कैपिटल चाहिए।
Correct. So these venture capital come at a growth stage when you have done your PMF and now you are on a launch pad ready to grow. This is the stage when you particularly see venture capital coming in, and they also provide you a lot of strategic support, much more than what an angel can provide because they have They have dedicated teams to do that. A lot of VCs are hands down VC, which get involved into your management, help you in structuring the team, structuring the entity, also refining your ideas, getting you important connection. But they would seek a high return. Uh, let's talk before they seek. Why do they seek high returns? Let's talk about where does this VCs get their capital from. You wanna answer it?
So it's basically the partners who run the firm who are the investors. So they sort of build a business out of it and they invest their money, get their return, and then invest back to the firm.
Correct. So there are two kind of partners that you see into a venture capital firm. One is called general partner, who operates the venture capital firm, makes that investment, and second one is called limited partners, who brings in the capital. For example, if I have a large business, and of course with large business you see a lot of wealth accumulating, and I have to invest into a firm, I can ask someone who is a seasoned investor to take the capital and start investing in any kind of startups or any for that matter any institutional investor gets their equity from multiple large people, high net worth individuals, and then these institutions business is to run the show. They are not necessarily the capital providers. So these limited partners, when they invest into a venture capital firm, their expectation of returns are very high. Reason being, A, this is a very risk associated class of asset. The risk in startup business is very high. Out of 10 startups, at least 8 would fail to succeed. And that means from the remaining 2 startups that are going to succeed, you have to compensate for all the 8 startups that went off or maybe that could not provide the returns. So does anyone know what is a private equity? You wanna what is a private equity? And you wanna try? Yeah. Yeah. That's someone else. Cool, I'll answer it for you. A private equity is a firm which is just like a venture capital, but private equity generally tends to invest in a company which has a stable EBITDA, stable growth. They don't look for a growth of, let's say, 2x every 2 months, 3 months. They are the entities that look for a 10-15% growth and stable. So the nature of capital is different. It is same money, but the way they invest, their risk is very low compared to a venture capital firm, and hence they don't seek very high return. If you are earning anywhere 15% return, and this is very important from a perspective that you may come up with an idea which is sustainable and profitable, but at the same time it might not grow at a 2x, 3x pace. In that case, if you are large enough, then you should seek private equity instead of venture capital. So it is very important to identify what kind of capital would work for you. Since our topic is venture capital, I have focused a lot on venture capital. But while your idea is there and you are working on that idea, you also have to identify what is the right kind of capital for you so that you don't get pressurized by a VC capital. VC capitals have destroyed a lot of businesses also in order to push them for growth. Byju's is one such story that we are seeing unfolding. We saw Byju's raising into 2020 when lockdown happened, and I mean there was no means to go to college or student or schools. That is when Byju's picked up. They spent a lot of capital for growing, etc. But since they did not spend their capital very wisely, which was also a result of getting capital from venture funds, this is the stage that they are. This is what they are seeing today. They are not able to return the capital. They are not able to sustain in the market because after a certain point in time they chose the wrong capital. So yes, it is very important to seek the right capital, and if you are seeking venture capital as an investor, ensure that you can provide them a very high return. So what is a typical check size that you get from a venture capital? Guys, I need more answer. I'm okay with random guess. That would help you to sort of draw more context. At least, yeah, typical check size, or what is the range of check? Yeah, yeah, it depends on what.
how to मतलब कि आप कितना बिजनेस को ग्रो करना चाहते हो और कितना फैलाना चाहते हो उसके ऊपर और कितना प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाना चाहते हो.
Correct. So yeah, the amount of capital you need depends on what your plans are. But venture capital typically write a check anywhere above $1 million. There's something called micro VCs which does small checks 250K, 500K, etc. And all of these numbers are quoted in dollars. So there are micro VCs who write smaller check, but generally you will see the next slide is about what are the different kind of VCs, but you will see a typical check size being anywhere above $1 million. So are all venture capital firms alike? So yes, I mean the answer is no. So VC firms can be distinguished on several aspects. Every VC firm, before they make an investment, they do their own research in the market, and the research can be on which industry is going to be the next big thing. For example, 2020 edtech was big thing. 2022 B2B businesses picked up a lot. Now we are seeing a wave in AI and other ML related businesses. So these are different cycles of economy in which they believe which particular industry is going to do better, and they form thesis around that. And basis this thesis, their investments are placed. I mean, I've broadly given a classification of what are the different kind of VCs. You can distinguish a VC basis the stage that they come in. If an VC is ready to come in an early stage, this is called early stage VC. An early stage VC would typically do a seed or a series A kind of investment. And this will be from an Indian context, it can be anywhere between $1 million to a $7 million. For a late stage VC, they will come once you have exceeded the initial growth phase and now you are looking to scale across geographies, etc. These are late stage VCs which will typically come in a series B, C, D kind of places. And then we have stage agnostic VCs, which doesn't care about which stage of business you are in. If they like the idea, they will invest on you. There are few names out there, but these are not the only VCs. There are about 1,000+ VCs operating in India. So you can imagine the amount of capital that is available in India for aspiring entrepreneurs. Then we have VCs who focus on a specific sector. For example, Lumikai, which is mentioned here, is a VC that would invest particularly into gaming. So if you have an idea where you know that this is a particular idea into this sector, and if you want to evaluate your idea or get a capital, then you should first focus on industry focused VC, because they are the best people who understand industry in and out. There are a lot of VC capitals that don't understand industry, and if you go to them, they may really tell that your idea is not going to work because they don't have enough depth about they don't have enough deep understanding about the industry to comment on it. Then we have again sector agnostic VCs which make all kind of investment. There is a mention about Peak 15. Peak 15 earlier was known as Sequoia, and this is the largest VC in India. They invest in all kind of startups, be it at any stage. They also have their very early stage fund which goes by the name of Surge. So all of these are very marquee VCs. Once you get capital from them, it is highly likely that you will have at least the runway to succeed or try your idea for the next 3-4 years. Then we have VCs that focuses on a specific sector or a specific geography for that matter. Uh, these are VCs, let's say India's story is getting sold across the globe. We are saying that India is growing at a 7% uh, year-on-year growth rate, which is highest among the developing countries. So there are a lot of VCs that focus on a specific geography. It can be India, it can be Southeast Asia, etc. So these kind of VCs, depending on where your idea is deployed or where your idea is centered, you can seek capital from them. Then there are global VCs that deploys capital across globe, be it US, India, UK, whatever geography you are into. Then the other criterias of VC. Let's say you have an idea which will have a huge impact on social welfare or economic welfare of the people. Then you should go to an impact fund. For example, Asha mentioned here. Asha invests a lot in a climate sort of thing, or let's say access to capital, access to credit to poor, etc. So impact fund is meant for people who are creating an impact through their businesses. Then we have corporate VCs. As the name suggests, corporate VCs capital come from large corporates instead of high net worth individuals. Then we have micro VC. Then we also have she capital kind of VC, which are women specific. Wherever there is a woman founder, these kind of VCs would deploy their capital. So, okay, I think we have already spoken about when should we approach an VC. What are the clear criteria that we should have in mind? We should have milestones, traction in place. Then we should be very clear about what is our funding requirement and where are you going to deploy this fund. I have seen people coming and saying that I need to raise $2 million, but they don't know where they are going to deploy their capital. And if you don't know where you are going to deploy your capital, I don't think you are going to get fund very soon, because at the end of the day, they are giving you money with the trust that this will be deployed properly and would be used for business purposes. And most importantly, uh, building networks. You would have learned a lot about in your MBA classes why building network is most important. Your network can give you a warm introduction. We work as an investment banker and our job is entirely building networks. We build networks with a lot of VCs and help business or entrepreneurs to get a warm introduction to, let's say if you are writing a cold email to an VC, you may never get a response. But when we sort of reach out to them, we get a response because we get a warm introduction with them. So if you have network which can get you a warm introduction, then it is a big plus for you. Cool. I'll also touch upon few criterias that we personally at Basic Roots uses when we select a startup to work with. The reason why we don't work with all startup is a lot of our fee is also related to a success. When a VC success, when a startup succeed, we get our fee. So we are very picky about what kind of startup we work with, and there are few criterias, and these are the exact criterias that VCs would also use to filter which kind of companies they have to invest into. So this idea, this includes checking on founders. How many number of founders are there? It is always said that 1 + 1 is greater than 2. So if there are multiple founders who can bring different kind of expertise, let's say a founder is into tech and the other founder is into a particular industry, then that is a big plus. So if you are planning to start your own business, ensure that you have a, a co-founder who would bring in different set of skills. Then of course founders qualification. Unfortunately, this has been the case that a lot of startups that get funded are from IIT Delhi, IIT Mumbai, etc. But having said that, we have seen that wave changing a lot. There are people who are investing in all kind of entrepreneurs, given that they are able to show the solid commitment and solid ideas. Then what are the founder skills? How do they pitch? What is the hustle score? Hustle score means how hard can you go and how long can you go? And if there is an unfair advantage to a founder. So the gaming company that I was talking about, this goes by the name of Trading Leagues. The founder of this company is also founder of Upstock. You might all know Upstock very well. He has an unfair advantage because he already has shown his ability to create a unicorn. Now when he speaks to any kind of VCs, gets this unfair advantage. So your unfair advantage can be anything, but you have to identify what is your strongest point, which you would use as an unfair advantage. Then of course about the sector, we see which sector they are into, whether this sector is in favor or not, and what kind of product they have, what is the annualized return that this sector is producing, etc. And then other financial metrics, like someone mentioned, we look at past financials, how they have been growing, what are their margins, etc. Cool. Uh, the next thing is about pitching, and I think it is, at the end of the day, it is all about how do you pitch your idea. So I think after this slide, we'll have a small exercise where we'll ask at least 2, 3 people to think of an idea that they can come up with and pitch it here. So that, let's see how does your pitch goes like. I know it is not a, it would not be a sufficient time, but just give a try to it. So what are the points that you remember, you have to remember while you're pitching your idea? You have to remember that this is the only chance that you will get with a investor. Once you meet an investor, if they do, so there are multiple calls that you do with an investor, but the first call is the hook for the next call. If you're not able to impress your investors in the first call, then it is highly unlikely that you will get a response from them. So practice your pitch as many times as you can. Refine your pitch. Ensure that you are to the point. At the same time, your pitch is understood by everyone. Yeah, so one important aspect is, let's say you are going and pitching to a fund and your pitch does not go well. You may think that, okay, it's just A fund that has gone, B fund, C fund, and D fund can still look at you. But unfortunately, this ecosystem of startup is a well connected ecosystem. In fact, we have seen all the analysts have a particular group. Whenever they speak about, and these are all very opinionated people, once they speak to to a startup, they immediately update their groups, their ecosystem, that we spoke to this kind of startup and it doesn't look good, or it doesn't have uh, the necessary criteria, it doesn't meet the necessary criteria to be a startup. And this kind of judgment can cloud anyone's mind, any other investor mind. So it is important that your first pitch is the most impressive pitch. I think next, most of the points are theory basis and we have covered it along this session. Now, as an exercise, I would like to sort of have few people who want to pitch their idea, uh, so that we can see how the pitching session goes. Are there any volunteers? You can also form a team of 2, 3 people.
Give them some time
Yeah, yeah, I'll give them 5 to 10 minutes to
and
think.
make 3, 4 teams so that can work.
Yeah, sure. Do we pick volunteers or do we make people to do that?
No, take volunteers.
So we need 3 teams at least.
So can we have 3 to 4 teams? You have to pitch your ideas. For example, Shark Tank में जो होता है, you have to do that only. Consider it as a game. If you have some ideas, how many of you want to have a startup?
There were few hands.
There were few hands, right? Can we have 3 to 4 people who are having some idea and then we can have a team?
I can give you more context. Maybe you can think of a problem statement that you would talk about, that why your product is required, what is the problem in the market that you see, what is the solution that you are going to come up with.
Is there anyone who can do it? No, they will, of course they will. All of them. Adil. Pulkit, yes, है. You are having some idea. Come on, we have to do it. It's MBA students. After a year, you cannot do
think you can fail at this pitch because I'm not going to post in any group that this was a poor pitch. So this is your try.
See, if 2 to 3 people can volunteer, then the team can help. Right? We give them time, no?
We will give them time.
They will do it. So we can stop. Okay, we leave you all for 5 minutes. We leave by
Can we have the
5
team
minutes.
leaders?
You all
Two,
have
three teams, three leaders.
5 minutes પછી મને કહી જાઓ કેટલી ટીમ
Hari, do you want to help one of the team? Just help them to nurture ideas. I can also help you in.
can change yourself. Who wants to form group? Arshit, Dan, you want to? You want to?
Adil looks very popular.
Okay, we have 2 people, Arshit and her. Any other volunteer? Yash, why are you taking other people's names? Okay, so we are having 3 people. Anyone else from this side? EA? Don't have idea? Okay. From this side? Pulkit? Idea નથી એ તો લાવશો ને idea. He will help you. He will help you. See, how do you get ideas? He gave you a suggestion that you have to look for problems in your surroundings. And then you have to try to find the solution to that. If you will come together,
No, no. You be the team leader. Select people that you want and brainstorm your idea with them. Let him be a separate team.
we'll do it separately.
I think we should have better gender ratio. We should pick at least one woman to be the leader.
Okay, so let us do it this way. These are the 3 teams, 1, 2, and 3. All right. अभी आदिल को आगे बोलना है तो भी मैं नहीं बोलूंगी. What is this? Talk about yourself. No, I am talking about others. उनको बोलना है तो बोलो. ये इसका नाम ले लो, उसका नाम ले लो. क्या कर रहे हो? इंटरव्यू में ऐसे करना.
I'll also help
I am
you.
not good enough. Take him. That is what you are doing just now. That is exactly what you are doing. Life is all about making the right pitch. At every stage in your life, you have to make that pitch. Okay, so we are having this free. Want to do it together? Okay, do it together. Archie, you pick another. So we are having 2 teams right now. Right? So how much time is that?
No, no problem.
5
Yeah,
to
I
10
finish
minutes.
it. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
We can give them 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, once you have your idea, I can help you to refine your pitch before you make a pitch here. My colleague and I.
You both can do this कि आप लोग अलग-अलग टीम को
Huh.
help है.
Yeah, yeah. But I think we should have at least 3 teams.
So there are 3 teams ready.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, so we are having 3 teams ready.
Let them think also. उनको सोच.
Great you
I can't do it.
Obviously. Life changing experience. Aditya built a fashion and retail. क्या लगता है क्या आइडिया मैं तो दिमाग में ऑलरेडी ऑलरेडी आ
भाई
गया
यहाँ तक कैसे पहुँच गया? ओ भाई तूने भेज दिया, सोनू ने आगे भी लोगों को भेज दिया। Release timings.
भाई रवि
कल रात को भाई 10 बजे सोनल का कॉल चल रहा है, 10 बजे की मीटिंग रात की। एलेक्स रघु कि
भाई कल तो
सोनल बोल
मेरे
रही
साथ जो हुआ है भाई yesterday was another case here man
वो देखा तुमने?
नहीं वो थोड़ा ज़्यादा आयरॉनिक हो जाता है
हाँ,
तो बोले
इतनी काली
मैं
सुबह।
वो मेंशन मत करो
Which are the teams I think we should? Let's go and talk.
Where's the third team?
Okay, इतनी guys, can we start the pitching session? What is the time? I think we are running out of time. Is there any team who's ready? Are you ready to pitch? You. 2 मिनट और ठीक है. You are going first. You are going first ना. चलेगा कर लो. Your business idea is quite solid. Okay, guys, we have the first team coming up.
તમને mic પર
So, hello Sharks. Myself Jaideep Agela and here my friend is Amit Mishra. We are the founders of AJ Tech Tactiles. So, we are basically making a platform which connects the wholesalers and the commission makers who are the connective with the textile industry. तो हम क्या करेंगे, पहले जो व्यापारी लोग हैं और जो कमीशन बेस पे जो काम करते हैं उनके लिए, उन दोनों के लिए हम एक प्लेटफॉर्म बनाना चाहते हैं जो जिसमें हम क्या करेंगे कि उसको पता नहीं है कि व्यापारी को पता नहीं कि कौन कमीशन बेस पे काम कर रहा है, और जो कमीशन बेस पे बना रहे हैं उनके लिए प्रोडक्ट, उनको भी पता नहीं कि व्यापारी कौन है। ठीक है, तो हम यहाँ पे फुल ट्रांसपेरेंसी मेंटेन करेंगे। और हम क्या करें, और ये टैक्स है, इसको टैक्स हम दे देंगे। तो ये क्या करेगा कि जो पूरा का पूरा जो डिजाइनिंग का कंपोनेंट है, जो उसमें जो काम होने वाला है, जो पेमेंट्स को सब ट्रांजेक्शन होने वाला है, वो सब ये देखेगा। मैं ये देखूंगा कि कैसे सब कुछ ये मैनेज करना है। जैसे कि अगर कॉस्ट कटिंग की बात करें तो हमको क्या करना पड़ेगा, पहले जो कमीशन बेस पे काम कर रहे हैं उन लोगों को हम मिलकर पहले समझाएंगे कि क्या करना है आपको। तो हम हमारे सॉफ्टवेयर के बारे में सिखाएंगे उनको, फिर व्यापारी से उनको कनेक्ट करेंगे, लेकिन वहाँ पे भी ट्रांसपेरेंसी मेंटेन करनी है। तो उसके बाद हम लोग एक कॉस्ट कटिंग का एक आइडिया देंगे। जैसे कि अगर वो लोग दुकान से, अभी सूरत में आप देखो तो वो लोग दुकान से खरीदते हैं, ठीक है, तो हम क्या करेंगे, सीधा उनको मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से कॉन्टेक्ट करवा देंगे। क्योंकि अगर वो दुकान से लेते हैं तो शायद अगर जो 100 रुपये का है तो उसमें से मार्जिन शायद 2 या 3 रुपये उनको बचेगा, लेकिन अगर सीधा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से दिलवा देंगे माल तो उनको शायद 10 रुपये से भी ज़्यादा का मार्जिन मिल सकता है। तो अभी करंटली सूरत में जो इंडस्ट्री है टेक्सटाइल की वो 500 बिलियन की है। तो हम क्या करेंगे कि जो जितने भी मैन्युफैक्चर जैसे कि केस के हो गए, डायमंड्स के हो गए, और वोट फिश का भी अभी कल्चर चल रहा है बहुत अच्छा सा। तो हम क्या करेंगे, ये सभी ट्रेंड्स को एक साथ में मिलाकर हम मैन्युफैक्चर वाले से ऐसे कॉन्टेक्ट कर देंगे कि भाई ये प्रोडक्ट आपसे हम आपसे ये खरीदने वाले हैं, लेकिन हमको इतनी क्वांटिटी में चाहिए, लेकिन प्राइस हम इतनी डाउन रखेंगे और आपको इनको ट्रांसपेरेंसी पेमेंट सिस्टम भी रखेंगे कि जिससे जैसे कि इंडिया मार्ट का पेमेंट ट्रांजेक्शन सिस्टम है कि अगर पहले आप माल सेंड कर दो, पहले आपको पैसे देने पड़ेंगे, माल जब आपके पास आएगा तब इंडिया मार्ट ट्रांसफर करेगा। तो ऐसे हम एक ट्रांसपेरेंसी मेंटेन करके एक प्लेटफॉर्म बनाएंगे।
जैसे मैं टेक्सटाइल में मेरा कई सारे डिजाइन उसमें इंट्रोड्यूस किए हैं, उसके अलग अलग प्राइस होते हैं। हम हमारा जो कस्टमर होंगे वो डायरेक्ट हमारे वेबसाइट पे आएंगे। जैसे हम इंडिया मार्ट पे अपना डालेंगे अपने, फिर उस पर अपना लिंक डालेंगे, वहाँ से रिडायरेक्ट हो कस्टमर जो हमारे वेबसाइट पे आएंगे, उससे जो हमें ऑर्डर आएगा हम ट्रांसफ़र करेंगे जयदीप को, फिर वो सब ऑर्डर को कंप्लीट करके फिर उस कस्टमर को फिर वो डिलीवर करेगा। Thank you.
So, Kushal Kesawal.
Yes, please.
So I did not get your basic idea. What you talked about the modalities. How it will work, कैसे
This
होगा,
is just
क्या
a
होगा, कैसे होगा, the
aggregate.
process part. Right.
तो
But I don't think majority of you are very clear about what was the basic idea of the concept.
आइडिया ये है कि ये एक प्लेटफॉर्म बनाना है, जो प्लेटफॉर्म व्यापारी को और जो काम कर रहे वर्कर्स
इंडस्ट्री
टेक्सटाइल
हाँ
इंडस्ट्री
so you start with
और अभी क्या हो रहा है, existing status क्या है, and what is something different or something
so
unique you are going to do.
what
Yes.
you were saying, you identify the problem statement. So
Okay.
you can start, I think you can start with the need.
Okay.
कि ये need है, ये problem है, that's why we are providing this solution.
हाँ.
तो मैं टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री से जुड़ा हुआ भी।
नहीं वो forget about all those things. You don't have to justify you are क्या है.
नहीं मैं वही समझा रहा हूँ।
उनका नीड क्या है,
Focus क्या है.
Yes.
Whether you are, even I am not with textile industry, तो मैं I can come up with some kind of idea. Not necessarily you should be in that particular sector.
Yes. बट प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अगर देखो कमीशन बेस पे जो वर्क करते हैं उन लोगों को क्या करना पड़ता है, पहले को उनको डिजाइन सोचनी पड़ती है, एक सैंपल बनाना पड़ता है जिसमें एक साड़ी लेंगे वो लोग, उसका कॉस्टिंग लगता है, फिर उसके ऊपर डिजाइन बनाना पड़ता है, उसका भी अलग से कॉस्टिंग लगता है। जैसे अगर कंप्यूटर मशीन से अगर वर्क कर रहे हैं, कुछ आरी का वर्क अगर समझ लो कर रहे हैं, तो उसका कॉस्टिंग उसका हो गया, फिर उसके ऊपर लेस लगाए तो उसका भी कॉस्टिंग हो गया, फिर उस पर अगर हॉट फिक्स का डायमंड लगाना है तो उसका भी कॉस्टिंग होगा, ठीक है। तो ये सब कुछ करके अगर वो वहाँ पे जा रहे हैं व्यापारी के पास कि भाई ये लो मैंने ये डिजाइन बनाई है, आप इसका ध्यान में रख के आप मेरे को ऑर्डर दिलवाओ। तो जो ऑर्डर के लिए जब हम मार्केट में जाते हैं, जैसे कि यहाँ पे सूरत में बहुत सारी मार्केट है, ठीक है, तो हम वहाँ पे गए तो अगर ये जरूरी नहीं है कि वो डिजाइन पास हो ही जाएगी, लेकिन जो कॉस्टिंग हुआ उसका क्या, जो यहाँ तक मेहनत की उसका क्या, वो तो सब कुछ वेस्ट है। तो इससे और वो ऐसी भी चीज़ नहीं कि अगर जो व्यापारी उनको पसंद नहीं आई तो दूसरे लोगों को भी नहीं पसंद आएगी, ठीक है। डिजाइन तो कोई कई तरह की हो सकती है। तो आइडिया यही है कि बस जो डिजाइन बना रहे हैं कमीशन बेस पे, तो हम एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म बने कि जहाँ पे वो अपनी डिजाइन और अपने आइडियाज को रख सके और व्यापारी लोग वहाँ पे आ सके कि भाई ये डिजाइन है, ठीक है, आप मेरे को ये डिजाइन की इतनी साड़ी बना के दे दो, और बीच में पेमेंट सिस्टम का इसको देखेंगे क्योंकि
नहीं वो ठीक है, वो बाकी का मॉडल वो अंडर
ओके।
I feel that they did a very good job in terms of, I know the idea was not very well structured, but they are targeting a very large industry and solving problem for aggregation as well as transparency. So you are definitely up to something. Uh, good good presentation.
Keep it.
Keep it.
Idea. I mean, take this idea ahead.
Yeah. If you see a potential, you
I
should.
will help you in funding.
Of course.
And see, we really have talked with them that if you have any idea, then people are into that business only. Of course, not directly funding.
Yeah, but
they can mentor you. Right? So if you really want to take this idea forward, they can mentor you. So this is why this whole platform is there.
और इसका थोड़ा सा बेसिक भी हमने कंप्लीट कर लिया था,
So
लेकिन
that is really good.
and they have a very strong team. One is from industry and second is a techie. So
That is good thing.
good.
thank you.
Which is the next team? You guys are coming up. Team.
आप में से कितने लोगों को ई स्पोर्ट्स के बारे में पता है? क्या होता है ई स्पोर्ट्स? सिर्फ ऑनलाइन गेमिंग? इंडिया में ई स्पोर्ट्स का मार्केट क्या होगा, मतलब आपको क्या लगता है? बहुत ग्रोइंग इंडस्ट्री है। लेट्स सपोज
See, the point is, चलो बोल लो बाद में। You have very limited time.
यस
So when you present your idea before investor, angel investor, so you have very limited time.
In
So within that particular time, you just have to explain.
In 2014, there are only two esports organizations, Global Esports and Entity Gaming. After that, in 2017, the game was come named PUBG. अब आप देखिए कि आप पहले आप सोचिए कि आप है एज ए स्टूडेंट, एज ए एज ऑफ 60 आप कितना कमा लोगे प्लेसमेंट देके भी? 6 लाख 7 लाख। पर आप अगर एज ए स्पोर्ट्स में करियर चालू करोगे तो उसका इजीली मंथली इनकम होगी 70 to 80,000 मंथली इनकम। अभी आप सोचोगे कि ई स्पोर्ट्स में इंडिया का मार्केट क्या है, तो अकॉर्डिंग टू द स्टैट्स इंडिया में क्रिकेट सबसे फेमस है। उसके बाद स्टार स्पोर्ट्स पे DBIM का टूर्नामेंट टेलीकास्ट हुआ था, उसने क्रिकेट को बीट किया था, मतलब ऑडियंस तो है स्पोर्ट्स की। और अकॉर्डिंग टू द गवर्नमेंट 100 out of 71% of the youth involved in the casual gaming. And in the recent time government banned PUBG and also BGM 2 times. But in recent times in a Bihar and MP, government organized a esports competition. So there is a market. अब हमें एज अ ग्लोबल esports ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हमें पैसा क्यों चाहिए, फंडिंग क्यों चाहिए, आगे समझाएंगे।
हमें फंडिंग चाहिए क्योंकि हम टीम बना सके, क्योंकि हम अगर एनालिसिस करते हैं दूसरे प्लेयर्स को, T1 स्क्रीम्स होते हैं BGMIs में और होते हैं, वहां से हमें प्लेयर्स लेने पड़ते हैं और एटलीस्ट 5 प्लेयर्स चाहिए हमें कि एक टीम फॉर्म हो और प्लेयर्स खेले, और उसके साथ साथ हमें एक बूट कैंप प्लेस हो जहाँ पे अपने प्लेयर्स प्रैक्टिस कर सके, गेमिंग कर सकते, और उनको बहुत सारे मतलब फैसिलिटीज देनी पड़ती है, जैसे पीसी हो गया, एक गेमिंग पीसी हो गया, मोबाइल हो गया, इंटरनेट हो गया, रहने की, खाने की, मतलब सारी चीजें उधर चाहिए, क्योंकि एक प्लेयर तभी आएगा आपके पास उधर खेलने के लिए। और ये आगे हाँ, और इंटरनेशनल अगर हमें जाना है तो हमें फंड्स उसके लिए भी चाहिए रहते हैं, और हमारा मतलब सोर्स ऑफ इनकम्स क्या होगा वो।
तो नाउ हमारा रेवेन्यू कहाँ से आएगा? तो हमारी कंपनी के थ्री रेवेन्यू मॉडल्स है। मेन रेवेन्यू मॉडल कीबोर्ड है, हेडफोन, स्पॉन्सरशिप कंपनी होती है, वो एक हमारा रेवेन्यू मॉडल है। सेकेंड, विनिंग चैंपियनशिप, जो चैंपियनशिप की जो भी विनिंग अमाउंट्स होती है वो सेकेंड हमारा रेवेन्यू मॉडल है। एंड द थर्ड मॉडल इज द प्लेटफॉर्म। देयर आर सो मेनी प्लेटफॉर्म who gave us money and there is a contract for the स्ट्रीमिंग के लिए वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है कि जो हमें रेवेन्यू देते हैं। तो ये थ्री मेन सोर्स है हमारे रेवेन्यू के। एंड नाउ वो जैसे हमारी जो ग्लोबल की टीम है, तो मैं अपने टीम को इंट्रोड्यूस करना चाहती हूँ। द सीईओ इज द यश राणा, जो भी आईटी और ऑपरेशन का जो भी काम है वो हैंडल करता है। देन द माई सेल्फ खुशी शाह, जो मैं मार्केटिंग एंड स्पॉन्सरशिप के जितने भी रेवेन्यूज के लिए जो भी होता है वो हैंडल करती हूँ। एंड मिलान जरीवाला, जो प्लेयर्स के साथ जितने भी गेमर्स हैं उनके साथ डील करता है। तो ऐसे हम हमारे बिजनेस को ग्लोबली ले जाना चाहते हैं और ग्रो करना चाहते हैं। So any questions?
See, मैम, the idea is कि अभी ई स्पोर्ट्स ग्रो है, जैसे कि अभी लोग टीवी। Yes, ma'am. There's a two type. First, you play the games and earn the money. Why? Like.
I as an individual play games.
Yes, ma'am. आप
गेम डिजाइन करोगे तो ऐसा कुछ
नहीं मैम, सर 2 मिनट। जैसे कि पबजी है, अभी आपको नहीं पता करंट सिनेरियो पबजी है। अगर आप पबजी खेलते हो तो आपको ऑर्गेनाइजेशन होती है, वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट देती है, और उसके मिनिमम सैलरी एक प्लेयर की 70,000 होती है। आपका रहने का खर्चा, खाने का खर्चा, ट्रैवलिंग का खर्चा भी वही उठाती है। क्योंकि मैम सिंपल, अगर आप जीतोगे मतलब 4 जन की टीम होती है, अगर आप जीतोगे वो प्लेटफॉर्म पे स्ट्रीम भी करेंगे, जैसे कि लोको होगा, यूट्यूब होगा, रूटर हो गया। अभी लोको जैसे है तो वो भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट देती है, उनका मिनिमम 1 घंटे का 4 रुपये देती है। अगर आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेस हो तो आपकी इनकम मंथली 50 lakhs भी जा सकती है।
If you are a really good player, so e-sports is I am playing online.
Yes.
And they are paying me.
Paying for actually आप व्यूज लाते हो, ऑडियंस, यूथ।
Lakhs of people are watching.
So try to.
Idea is this. You have to pitch your business. Where do you see PUBG directly hires the gamer?
Team, not PUBG but team.
Where do you fit in this?
We are the esports organization जो खुद की टीम बना रही है पीसी में और मोबाइल में। हमको आगे जाना टीम
जो आगे इंटरनेशनल,
हाँ हमारे
Gathering these people.
जैसे
खुद भी कर सकते हैं ना।
नहीं,
जैसे
और सब कुछ मतलब हैंडल करने के लिए अगर एक कोई भी चार्ज रैंडमली खेलेंगे,
नो देयर इज अ 4 प्लेयर होने चाहिए, और उसमें भी रूल होते हैं।
सर आपको
पैसे मतलब फंडिंग नहीं मिल सकती, एज अ बेसिक
आपको सब खुद ही करना है।
एज ए गेमर भी बहुत सारी चीजें होती है, कि जैसे जो भी फोन चाहिए, पीसी चाहिए, तो उसका सेटअप से लेके सब कुछ होता है।
और गेमिंग
तो वो
सर सॉरी बट इन गेमिंग आपको मिनिमम 14 प्रो मैक्स चाहिए, जो आप एक प्लेयर अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता।
उसमें से आपको चाहिए क्योंकि लैग कम
आप
हो,
YouTube पर ना वीडियोस આવે છે જેમાં બેકગ્રાઉન્ડમાં બધા બોલતા હોય છે, that is
the streaming, yes, and it's actually the second biggest market.
So there is a company which is called Listed Fans. उनका काम ये है कि जो YouTube या क्रिएटर्स होते हैं उनको वो लोग फंडिंग करते हैं ताकि वो लोग अपने कंटेंट को बना सके.
Because I have seen a few YouTubers from USA. They spend like anything, and for every video there's a sponsor or
Yes,
Yes,
that's a revenue.
that's
That's
the
a revenue.
revenue, main source of revenue.
And actually even Amazon का भी खुद का प्लेटफॉर्म है ट्विच करके.
मार्केटिंग स्पेंड्स
ट्विच
वर्ल्डवाइड
करके.
इज द लार्जेस्ट स्पेंड.
हाँ, और अभी स्टार स्पोर्ट्स है, उस पर टेलीकास्ट होने वाला है 4 अगस्त को.
एक बार
ऑन टीवी हो भी चुका है और वही बोल रहा हूँ कि क्रिकेट से ज्यादा व्यूज उस पे आए थे.
तो सर
Yes.
ये सब
And
ही इज
even
चैलेंजिंग द जनरेशन.
और आप अभी सोच रहे हो कि इतना कितना बड़ा हो सकता है, तो यूनिकॉर्न्स भी, टीएसएम हो गया, फिनाटिक हो गया, जैसी कंपनी है 100 थ्यूज, वो सब यूनिकॉर्न कंपनी हो चुकी है अभी. और आप स्पॉन्सरशिप की बात करते हो तो फिलिप्स, उसकी अपनी टीम है, और केएफसी भी है, सोशियो भी है, जो टीम स्पॉन्सर करती है.
तो ये जितने भी
गुड बिजनेस आइडिया. दिस इज अ I think the previous team has presented an idea which was at least 60% of Indian population can relate to. But that's fine. I think 60% is a very good number. So let's see what is there is the next team.
Okay, so good morning to all. We are watch R. So हमारा basically idea ये है कि मूवी थिएटर जो हम स्टार्टअप करेंगे. हम सब जानते हैं कि अभी भी OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स की वजह से मूवी थिएटर में एक डाउनफॉल आने को देख रहे हैं हम. डाउनफॉल देखने को मिल रहा है, तो हम कस्टमर हमारी पहली कमाई होगी कस्टमर रादर देन मनी इनकम। तो हम ये करेंगे कि मूवी थिएटर में इन्वेस्टमेंट में ये होता है कि 60% ऑफ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर एंड 40% ऑफ ओनर। तो हम बेसिकली कस्टमर अट्रैक्ट करने के लिए हम 40% का 20% हमारा प्रॉफिट रखेंगे, और जो भी हम खाने की चीज़ें इन ड्यूरिंग मूवी सेशंस में हम बेचेंगे कस्टमर्स को, उन पर हमारा मार्जिन टू मार्जिन प्रॉफिट होगा। जो हम देखते हैं कि बड़े बड़े मूवी थिएटर में ज़्यादा पैसे उस पर चार्ज करते हैं, हम वो नहीं करेंगे, क्योंकि हमारा पहला मोटिव होगा कस्टमर। जो मोटिव था जियो का, जो मोटिव था किसी भी एनी फर्म जो लॉन्च करती है अपनी प्रोडक्ट को, जो इनकम को ध्यान में नहीं रखती है, कस्टमर को अक्वायर करती है, पहला एक सेटअप बनाती है अपनी प्रोडक्ट के लिए। तो हम ये करेंगे। और दूसरा, जैसे हम देखते हैं कि ओपन थिएटर जो कि राजस्थान में हम देखते हैं, जयपुर में राज मंदिर, लेट्स से राज मंदिर में जो हम देखते हैं, वैसे ही वी हैव अ टाई अप विथ अवर जिनके साथ हमारा अगेंस्ट ऑफ 50% इक्विटी 15% इक्विटी हमारा लैंड टाई अप है, infrastructure man in Surat. So we have a tie up with him. So land we have also इन्वेस्टमेंट इन थिएटर मेकिंग में जो भी लगेगा वो हम खुद से अरेंज करेंगे इन स्टार्टअप स्टेज। आफ्टर दैट वी विल मैनेज ग्रोथ विथ आवर इनकम। सो
क्या करोगे क्या? आई डोंट हैव
we want to open movie theater.
मूवी थिएटर।
Yes. Yes.
जस्ट लाइक अंतरे जैसी प्रकारना सिंगल मूवी के
Yes. Yes.
सिंगल स्क्रीन के मल्टीपल स्क्रीन,
सिंगल स्क्रीन ओपन थिएटर, मतलब थीमेटिक, मतलब ओपन थिएटर कहीं पे राजस्थान जैसा राज मंदिर में बालकनी टाइप ओल्ड
ओल्ड थीम हम देखते हैं वही।
सिंगल
Yes.
ओपन
Yes.
थिएटर
और ड्राइव इन थिएटर।
ड्राइव इन
Yes.
थिएटर।
Yes. और हमारा मार्जिन हम कम करेंगे प्रॉफिट का, जो 40% ओनर का होता है उसमें हम 20% हमारा रखेंगे।
नहीं, वो डिफरेंस नहीं
हाँ
है,
हाँ।
लेकिन कंसेप्ट और आइडिया जो है बेसिकली,
Yes.
बट इट विल डिपेंड ऑन हाउ डू यू अट्रैक्ट द कस्टमर।
Yes.
प्राइस से
With
Price, you don't have to forget about the price aspect. I am asking about how do you bring the customer to your theater.
yes. So हम
थिएटर में क्या है? Why do they come to theater? To watch a movie.
for the entertainment. Yes.
मूवी, अगर मूवी में इंटरेस्ट नहीं है तो वो क्यों आएंगे आपके पास?
Yes. तो सर लाइव इवेंट जो होती है, जैसे कि वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल मैचेस हो गया, और फिर जिसमें हाई वॉल्यूम ऑफ वाचिंग व्यूअर्स मिलते हैं, इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान मैच, और कई सारे लाइव इवेंट्स होते हैं, तो उन लाइव इवेंट्स को हम शो प्रेजेंट करेंगे, एंड उसमें भी हमारा टिकट साइज होगा वो स्मॉल होगा।
अभी भी वो करिए मल्टीप्लेक्स और सिंगल स्क्रीन थिएटर जो है, they are also show their live streaming or even the World Cup movie or etc. certain events.
ओल्डर
वो
हिट
कर ही रहे हैं, तो what will be something different in your
पुरानी जो हिट मूवीज है, पुरानी जो हिट मूवीज है,
आज की
उनको भी
जनरेशन नहीं देखी होगी वो वाली।
रिप्रेजेंट करेंगे। सो दैट्स द आइडिया। थैंक यू।
I think of that we think we will never reach. So an interesting idea, a little bit of capital intensive idea. You never know what is going to get implemented next. So thanks all for presenting your ideas. I think it was a very good exercise, and we got to understand that how and I hope one of these idea would get implemented very soon. So with that, I'm happy to conclude my session, and also let me know if you have any questions for me. I'm happy to address. Let's say, yeah, sure.
So, based on your experience and the exposure, so what do you suggest? What are the areas when everybody wants to start a business? Not necessarily startup, any business kind of thing, any opportunity. So what are the various areas, the broad areas one wants to think of?
So right now, which is the hottest market? Right now, the hottest market is in AI, and it is a tech-led business. AI is disrupting market in different ways. So to give you an example, we are working with a couple of AI clients. One is into making presentation. In fact, this presentation that I have made is made in 10 minutes by 70% of work is done by AI. I have not spent my time with that. So this website is called presentations.ai. You just feed in your idea and it will generate the presentation for you. Yeah, it will create images, it will create content, etc. And then you have to do modest changes. So AI is one disruptive side of the market, while we are seeing the entire economies across globe is going in a recession period because of all the inflation and Fed market cycle, Fed interest rate cycle. But AI is something this which is supercharging the productivity and possibility of a person. Earlier, someone who wanted to be a content creator but did not have a good hold on language, or maybe he had a small team, now can leverage things like ChatGPT, etc., and be a content creator, etc. So AI is on surface is supercharging the productivity of people, and AI is definitely the next big thing that is coming. But if we move away from startup, what is going in the other markets? I think the entire consumer market in India is picking up very fast. The Indian economy is growing at the fastest pace, and we are also seeing rapid urbanization, youth population getting in. And if we look at the market trends, America has 10 times at least more disposable income, and hence it has always been a consumption centric economy. Right now we see India moving in that direction, and a lot of consumer companies which are again leveraging the platforms, etc., are coming up. We see a huge potential out there. Right now it is not feasible for a lot of people with platform fees about 15%, logistics, etc. But going forward, 5 years, 7 years down the line, we'll see most of the stores would be online, where logistics will get cheaper, platform fees would get more rationalized, etc. So I think any digital native business is going to pick up in future. AI is definitely going to pick up in future, and yeah.
Apart from that kind of technology related businesses,
Yes.
any other areas or kind of
Any other businesses which are any consumer business is growing quicker, even if you have a but the idea has changed. Earlier you were a location centric. For example, if I am at a city center somewhere in Surat, then I am a popular store. But right now how the perception is changing is, if my name is recognizable, if I make a brand instead of just creating a store, then the pace at which I will grow is much earlier. So brand as a concept is growing in consumption industry, and on top of it we see all the industries going. We see EV growing, automobiles industry is also rapidly expanding. So as people have more and more disposable income, you will see all these aspects, all the sectors in the economy going. There is a huge incentive that government has provided for manufacturing in India. Though India is still not being able to compete with China, the global policies are such that the entire globe, the consumption oriented globe, that is Europe and America, is looking at China plus one policy. So they don't want to be entirely dependent on China for their supply chain, because if China stops, entire supply chain gets disrupted. So manufacturing as a field is also going pretty rapidly in India. So overall, my perception about Indian market is very bullish. Take anything that you want to do. There is a huge scope that is coming up, but ensure that you have the fundamentals right, where you know how to start a business, how to run a business, and how to grow your business, where all the basic aspects of your business are covered, and then you jump into a business, because it's also getting very competitive. Everyone has the capital to do a business now. So yeah. Any other question? Yeah, please go.
But right now there are lots of startups who are struggling to generate profit. Not they are even in a break-even point, right? So what are the reasons and how can they overcome with this situation?
So yeah, no, that's a fair point. The primary objective of a business should be earning profit, but startups work in a different fashion. Their business is not making profit in initial days, but growing the business. I don't want to. So with, have you heard of economies of scale? So their objective is to reach at a certain scale where you automatically become profitable. So for example, if Ola is the only option in the Indian market and they are at a scale where they can command the price, then Ola automatically becomes profitable. The reason why startups are not being able to generate profit is A, the pace at which startups grew or the capital came in because of 2020 COVID event where Fed had their interest rate was 0.25%. It flooded the market with capital and started deploying more and more capital to acquire customer. But unfortunately, without realizing that Indian market still does not have that is required. If you look at an American market, which we were talking about 2 minutes back, they have 10 times more spending power than an Indian market. So Indian consumers are still consuming readily when it is available for a very discounted price or at almost no price. But when it comes to paying, they are not able to pay. So the way companies are looking ahead is they are trying to go. I have a SaaS solution where you can subscribe and use my facility, whatever I have. Then maybe Indians will not subscribe for it, but I know if I go in US and if the product makes sense, then US people will subscribe it, and that is how they are looking at the path of profitability. And on the other side, where there are B2B businesses, etc., they are also trying to cut down their marketing cost, cut on the manufacturing cost or the prices that they were charging. They are trying to increase all those, change all those levers, and change in those lever is what is very challenging because it changes the consumer behavior altogether. So we will have to see how it evolves when the levers are changed, how the market responses to it. But I think at the end of the day, if not now, we'll see few fatalities in startups, but at the end of the day, we'll come out of it and you'll see more profitable startups. Maybe not at the early stage, but at the late stage, you will start seeing companies getting profitable and going for IPOs.
But even in one addition, when you about failure, in fact, our track record is good compared to the rest of the world. Even the success rate is more compared to even the USA and other developed economies in case of startup.
Yes, that's true. And the part of the reason is we go and sell in US and we have cheap resource here compared to what US companies have. So yes, when it comes to tech, we are more successful, but when it comes to scale, they have the larger scale.
Sir, we have lot of unicorns nowadays,
Yeah.
as we compare earlier days, but they are not profitable. Every now and then there is a new unicorn in the market, right?
Yeah.
But they are not profitable.
So look,
This is one right.
unicorn is a concept of valuation. Let's say Byju's at its peak had a 22 billion valuation, but right now Byju's valuation is about 6 billion, which their investors are quoting that we are valuing it at 6 billion. So valuation is again a perception of market that at what future could be for this company. But when the perception changes, the valuation would change. So if I am a unicorn today, I may not be unicorn tomorrow. So giving a valuation is very easy, and it is also linked to the market interest rate, etc. When interest rates are very low, the valuation tends to go up. When the interest rate increases, which we are seeing now, the valuation tends to come down. So unicorn is not a real seal for a success, but it is a seal for that you have reached at a certain stage. So yeah.
Okay, last question.
Yeah, please go on, sir.
So this is last question from my side. Okay, see here one of the slide you mentioned the angel, and obviously angel investor, the venture capitalists, they expect high return.
Correct.
So what is that high return? What do they expect? On
So
an average, based on
they would expect at least a 10x exit.
10x.
Yeah. So if they are investing a million, they would expect at least to get 10 million when they are exiting. That's a minimum return because
fine, but in terms of horizon, maybe 10 into 10x.
so
Again,
for a million they will expect 10 million. That is the range that, and 10x is a low return. There are startups that have given 100x returns, and this is the return which actually makes it attractive. But from an entity perspective,
and what is the horizon? Like what time they expect say from 1
Time
year to
horizon. Yeah, they expect it anywhere between 5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 years.
Yeah, 5 to 7 years, where typical capital would become 2x. They are expecting it to be 10x, so it's 5 times more profit than what others are expecting. And
So this is
also,
the minimum.
yeah, at an aggregate level. So, like I mentioned, at a start, the venture capital also gets capital from someone else. They promise a 20% return to their investors. That is annualized return every time you annualize it. So that is the return that they promise. And to make that kind of return, they need at least 10x sort of uh, grow from the successful enterprises. Wherever they don't succeed, they still try to preserve the capital by selling it to the larger companies, etc. So that's the kind of return that they expect. Any other questions from anyone else?
I think we'll talk
Cool. So cool. Thank you everyone for attending the session. And if you have any doubt, feel free to reach out me. That is my mobile number and email address mentioned. So happy to mentor you, sort of discuss through the ideas that you may have. Uh, and let's see if I can visit anytime in future to sort of do this. Sure. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shubham Bhandari, sir. I just wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you for sharing your expertise and giving your time, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I also want to thank our beloved HOD, Dr. Manish Sitpuria, sir, IIC President and Professor, Dr. Jaideep Chaudhary, sir, or our respected all the professors of DBIM and our students for that taking their valuable time out and ensured their present here. Thank you so much everyone for your cooperation. Thank you.